Could you please stand for us, stand with us for the invitation to be led by Alderman Christian, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow your heads and worship in the manner that you choose. Lord, we come today to do business of the town of Spring Lake, and let us make wise decisions and grant us wisdom in doing so. And look out for our first responders. We had a very good day breaking ground on a second fire station. Look out for our police department and all of our employees in the town. Please look out for our troops overseas and our citizens overseas and abroad. And here at home, look out for our citizens here at home. In your name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I shall gently remind the board, please silence your phones. Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Alderwoman Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, please, I'd like to add an update. If Mr. Hankins could, please, on the inspection department, as well as update for Chief Williams to give us an update on the groundbreaking, the citizens, and that's why the cake is there, please.
Okay, let's do one at a time. Is that presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so 8C is Mr. Hankins,
Yes.
and that's an update on
Chief Williams is going to go over the groundbreaking.
Mr. Hankins. Mr. Hankins.
Oh, the first one, yeah.
Update
On the inspection department for the grass cutting and how the town is looking. He's been working with the inspection department.
and 8D will be Chief Williams,
Yes, sir.
and that's an update.
On the new fire department, groundbreaking.
Ms. Williams, you have that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, any other additional deletions from the order? Okay, may we get a motion to approve? Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the additions.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we amend the agenda to include items 8C and D. Mr. Hankins and Chief Williams. Here's the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. Approval of consent items. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Item 9A. I need to move that to item 6B. That is oath of office, since Ms. Pereira will at that time be under official obligation to do her duty, her job.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you. Okay, so may I get another motion, please? I'm sorry, Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the three said changes.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I second that motion.
Been moved and second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. All right. Approval of the consent item. Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the September 23rd, 2019 regular meeting and the oath of office.
Alderman Christian.
Second that motion.
It has been moved and second for the approval of the consent item. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. All right, let us step down front, Ms. Pereira. And Ms. Webb, who will hold. I have, you have your time. Left hand on the Bible. I, Melissa Pereira,
I, Melissa Pereira,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain the Constitution
that I will support and maintain the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the laws and Constitution of North Carolina,
not inconsistent herewith,
not inconsistent herewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as Deputy Town Clerk
of my office as Deputy Town Clerk
for the town of Spring Lake, North Carolina,
for the town of Spring Lake, North Carolina.
and I will not allow my actions
I will not allow my actions
as Deputy Town Clerk
as Deputy Town Clerk
to be influenced by personal
to be influenced by personal
or political friendships
or political friendships
or obligations,
or obligations,
so help me God.
so help me God.
That's right.
Thank you.
We'll shake your hand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Come on through.
Oh, the whole board?
Yes, sir. Yes. Come on.
All right, just shake hands now.
All right.
Mr. Christian, if they're all coming in, you want me to take that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Put it down, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, hold it front.
You're tall, you need.
All right, everybody, smile. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. We have, 4 people signed up for the, public forum in this order. Betty Sanford, forgive me for not using the title. Betty Sanford, Fitch Senior. Mary Thomas, her statement will be read by Ms. Webb in detail. In that order, please. And, Ms. Pereira, her first duty for the evening is to be our timekeeper. She will let me know when 3 minutes
Yes, sir.
by way of buzzing in. All right, I don't think we can give them 2-minute warning, can we? Like they do in the
Just gotta wait till the alarm goes off.
All right, okay. Betty Sanders, please.
Well, praise the Lord, everybody.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
I'm not gonna be before you very long, so you can just hold that buzzer. Okay? I put 2 things on there, but it's actually 4 things, and I do, respectfully, all of you, the mayor, all of you. I wanna say this. I've been praying for each one of you, because I want God to do a work in you. Understand that? Okay. Pool, I would love for us to have a swimming pool. That out there is fine, but that's for the younger people. You know, I'm 74 years old. I'd like to have a swimming pool to get in there and do some swimming. You understand? Okay, movie theater. Everything goes to Fayetteville. Nothing is here in Spring Lake. Everything got to go to Fayetteville. Why can't we have a movie theater here? The other thing is a skating rink. Go to Fayetteville. Get a skating rink here for our children and for the grown-ups. There are grown-ups that like to skate too. But why go to Fayetteville? I have nothing against Fayetteville, and I've said that several times. But we need to get things like that here. I'd love to see us have some nice family restaurants to go in and sit down and really enjoy meals. instead of these fast food. Do y'all know that fast food can really mess you up? Every time you look around, you got fast food jumping up. Okay, and the other thing is that it's very important, curfew. And I would love for the curfew to come at 7 o'clock as opposed to 11 o'clock. A child that's in middle school has no business out at 11 o'clock at night. Needs to be home. And I would love for us to get that done. Y'all talk to me, I can tell you what's going on. You know, I do sleep, but I can tell you what's going on in my community. Those are the things that I want like for us to do. Okay? My 3 minutes up. Go.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders.
Uh-huh.
You can reset the clock.
All right.
I do, you go.
She's got 40 more seconds.
Don't count and use it.
In 50.
When do my time start?
You can go on now, you can use my 40.
Mr. Mayor, the board, my name is Daniel Finch, I live at 735 Vineyard Drive. For the last 31 years, 6 months, 3 to 4 days. I want to thank everybody who came out to my boxing event this past weekend. It was an outstanding turnout. We're going to take the funds and take the kids from the community to Aquarium down in Wilmington at Fort Fisher on an excursion trip. So they got to go see Mr. Gray. You got a sign up slip over there. I think I have it out now. For them to sign up, the first 80 people that signs up gets to go free of charge. So, Harney County, Polk County, Cumberland County, I live in something that's been a whole lot of nothing. So continue to watch out for me. If you see me walking, give me a ride. Thank you very much.
Ms. Webb.
Thank you, Mayor and board members. I'm reading this on behalf of Ms. Mary Thomas. She says, I am the current chair of Spring Lake Board of Adjustment. The committee's task is to resolve issues relating to requests for variances to the town's ordinances which govern the zoning codes mapped out for residential, commercial, and industry in Spring Lake. Many businesses make requests for zoning variances to fit their individual needs. Today, the Board of Adjustments was unable to do their duties for these particular businesses. And why? We had a rescheduled meeting today, but the Board of Adjustments did not have enough members to make a quorum. Not only did we not have a quorum to hold the meeting today, this meeting was originally scheduled for last month, September the 9th. Membership consists of 5 active and 2 or 3 alternates. A quorum is a minimum of 4 members present. At today's Board of Adjustment meeting, only 2 members were present. The meeting had to be rescheduled for Tuesday, November the 12th at 3 p.m. We are encouraging all of you here tonight to consider signing up for the Board of Adjustment. Get the message to your friends, neighbors to do likewise. This is one way to participate in the town of Spring Lake's government and make things better for everyone. The qualifications are to be 18 years old or older, a resident of Spring Lake. You can go to the town's website, print out an application, fill it out, and get it to the town clerk.
Thank you, Ms. Webb.
Thank you.
D. Taylor.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name is Dee Taylor with Cumberland County Community Development. As most of you know, I try to come out every year to provide you with an update on community development activities. As most of you may know, that Cumberland County is a recipient of Community Development Block Grant funds and Home Investment Partnership funding that we use to provide activities that benefit low to moderate income persons, or that would eliminate slum and blighted areas in the community, and also address urgent need in the community. And so I wanted to inform you that we will be holding a public meeting this coming up Thursday, October the 17th, beginning at 6 p.m. at the Spring Lake Family Resource Center, 103 Lake Tree Boulevard. And this is where we will be providing more detailed information about programs that would benefit the residents in your community, especially those who are low to moderate income persons. Activities consist of things like home repair assistance, and this is for owner-occupied or investors, home buyer assistance, assistance for homeless families and individuals, public facility infrastructure improvement, small business or economic development assistance, and any other housing or non-community housing community development programs. And so we invite the citizens to come out and learn more about these programs, but also because we are in the process of preparing our annual action plan and our consolidated plan. The annual action plan is our one-year plan, which describes the types of activities and projects that we plan to fund for the upcoming year. The 5-year plan, the consolidated plan, is more of a comprehensive plan, and that is where we try to engage the citizens in the community and agencies and businesses to provide their input as to what they think is the most important needs in our community, because this is how we identify how we will use our funding resources to address those needs. So if you would like to provide your input, one of the ways is to come out to the public meeting. If you're not able to attend, we will have a survey available online on the Cumberland County website under the Community Development Department section, if you're not able to attend the meeting this Thursday. But we definitely need your input. Just want to thank you.
What time is it? What time is the meeting?
Oh, at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Again, this Thursday. Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
and may I provide leaf flyers up front?
Yes.
Oh,
Chief Williams, would you handle those, please, the flyers? Thanks again for each of you for your presentation and your speaking on tonight. Okay, item 8A, we have a presentation on low income energy assistance program. Ms. Gail Bullock, thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to come. As he said, my name is Gail Bullard, and I work with the Cumberland County Department of Social Services. And what I wanted to share with you tonight is that the agency has 2 energy assistance programs that we are administering this year. In the past several years, we have contracted these programs out to the Salvation Army. But this year, it was decided that they would come back to the agency. The one that I'm just going to briefly mention is the SIP program, which is Crisis Intervention Program. And that applications for that program is taken downtown at the Department of Social Services, which is on Ramsey Street. And that program is designed to help individuals who, without some help with their heating or cooling bill, they could have some health-related emergencies. You know, maybe their lights are going to be cut off, or their air conditioning, or whatever. That program is being taken now. It starts in July. Now, both of these programs, the payments do not go directly to the customers. They are vendor payments. They go, if someone has their heat source with, say, PWC, the money goes to PWC, not to the customer. The other program that the main one I'd like to share with you tonight is called the Low Income Energy Assistance Program, or we refer to it as LEAP. And this is a program that will provide a one-time vendor payment for households to help them pay for their heating bills. The maximum resource limit for this is $2,250. So if someone comes in and they've got $10,000 in savings or checking, then they're not eligible. So you can clearly see that this is for low-income people. And then the income limit is 130% of the poverty level. There are very few deductions that can be given for certain individuals who are classified as specified persons who have a medical expense. They're automatically given a deduction, and then they can also get a deduction for legally obligated child support and daycare if daycare is needed. So the income can be reduced some, but this program, the applications previously, as I said, was taken down at the Salvation Army. People had to come into town to make the application. Well, for this day and age, our county is large, and it could be very expensive for people to have to come into town, especially if there was not enough people to see the people and they had to come back a second time. But so what we're doing this year is quite different. We are going to be going around in the county, taking the program to the various spots across the county, letting people apply there instead of them having to come to our agency. Now, if someone comes to our agency and would like to apply, of course they can. But we tried to choose places throughout the county to save some people from making the trip into town. For Spring Lake, we have scheduled 301 Ruth Street. That's right across the street, isn't it? Okay, very close. On December the 16th, we will be taking applications there from 1:30 until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. In December, the only applications that are going to be taken are for those people who are elderly and disabled. And being disabled is identified as receiving Social Security disability, VA disability, or SSI, which is a disability program, and also receiving assistance through the Department of Health and Aging. So those people in December, those people can apply, elderly and disabled. Then in January, the program will open up to all households. And so in January, 103 Lake Tree Boulevard, I believe that's down, I forgot what you call that.
Resource.
Yeah,
Resource.
yeah,
Resource.
And we will be there taking applications from 9 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon.
What date was that?
January the 9th. Now, applications for during January, February, and March will be taken as long as funds are available. So, suppose enough people apply in January that there's no more funds and the program is over. So we would encourage people to apply as soon as they can. But we will continue taking applications through January, February, March, as long as there are funds available. And like I said earlier, it goes to the vendor company. We are hoping that this will make it easier for people. I personally think that sometimes people don't apply because of the timing. You know, sometimes if you're working, you have to leave your job or something like that. But we're hoping that by bringing it out into the community, that more people will benefit from this program. Also, on December the 7th, that's a Saturday, the Department of Social Services will be open only for the LEAP program. No other social services, business will be taking place on that day. And we have not established the time of day, but it'll be down at our office. And so, we're gonna try that also. We are making posters, and I had hoped to have them ready, for tonight, but that didn't work out. But these posters, we're going to be spreading out through the communities. We're hoping to mail one to each, church. We are hoping to give the town hall one and the senior citizen places. We're trying to put them everywhere so that people will know. It is our sincere hope that the money that the state allows to Cumberland County does not have to be returned to the state, but is used to benefit the residents of Cumberland County. So the first program now that I just briefly mentioned was SIP, Crisis Intervention. That's for people that will have a health-related issue if their utilities are cut off or something. But the one that I really want to stress tonight is the low-income energy assistance, which for December will be for the elderly and disabled, and for January, February, and March, as long as funds will last, will be for all households. Anybody can apply. Okay, any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Ballard. What I would ask that you do is, if you could email Ms. Terrell, we're gonna put her to work tonight with these dates. I tried to write them, but I tell you, I don't do stenography anymore.
Right, and what I can do that. Let me get your email address. But what we will be doing is making certain that you get a poster. There's just one thing wrong with this one that was made, and it's because of time was wrong on one of them, but we don't want to put out the wrong time. So, but we'll have those out, pretty shortly. But I will be happy to give her the dates and get her, email address.
And we appreciate your excellent presentation. Any comments? Thanks again. While they're doing that, Alderwoman Cooper and Mr. Benji Hale.
Thank you, Madam. I know that we've had a lot of success with grants, and I happened to be having a conversation with Mr. Hare and understood that he had a lot of success writing grants. And I've also had conversations with some of the different department heads here in town, and many of them have said that they've seen grants but really just not had a lot of time to do them. So I thought it would be advantageous to us to have someone talk to us about grant writing and how it could have benefited us. And so with that, Mr. Benji here, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. If I sound a little raspy tonight, it's this time of the year for sinus issues. Ms. Cooper and I talked a couple of weeks or a month or so ago, and she expressed some of the needs that Spring Lake has, and I said, well, let's talk about it. And I said, maybe I can lend a little bit of support to you. Give you a little bit about my background. I spent 35 years in grants management, primarily in the healthcare industry. And before moving back to Cumberland County 6 years ago, my home county, I spent 6 years at the federal level as a branch chief. I had a third of the country that got healthcare grants that totaled $818 million in a grant portfolio with cities involved. So I've worked very closely with cities in their particular needs, helping them work through the process of grant procurement, helping them work through the process of grants management, the process of reporting, and data collection, so that the cities could then proceed into repetitive grant funding. Often one of the issues that often happens with grant funding that's a challenge in going forward and getting additional monies are that there's no real hardcore data. So there has to be a data set up in the beginning to track the accomplishments, to look at the pitfalls, to look at the failures, to look at every aspect of the funding. As long as it's out there and it's identified, then it's usually not a challenge. One of the things that I think is important is that whether it's an entity, a nonprofit entity, or whether it's a county government or city government, is you look at some type of strategic plan. And maybe you've done some of that, but usually what I like to do is do a little bit more intense, where you get public input on the needs of the community, just like this lady was talking about a swimming pool. And you get the departments' input from fire and police. And then also you look at various organizations within the community who really could provide a greater degree of public service to help citizens if there was a little bit of funding sometime to spark their needs. So strategic planning to me is a real key piece of it, and it can be done in a very simple process. It doesn't require massive meetings. It requires some meetings. It includes marketing of those meetings so that citizens and likewise know when they're going to be happening. And also a tool to gather information and gather input. I've given you two handouts tonight. Instead of giving you a 30 or 40 page document, I decided to condense them a little bit for you and let you take them home, peruse them, and I'm happy to come back to go into more depth. The first one is entitled Grant Outline Template for Applications. This is an outline that I recently put together for Judge Tony King for the new Worth Court in Cumberland County. And this outlines basically what a grant application is going to look like. It's premised on basically what a federal grant application is going to need. You start off with an abstract that's one page. If you're funded for the grant application, then that one page is what goes to the Congress. There's a 3-day hold on it, and then you as a grant awardee get notification after the congressional representative or representatives and the senators get notification. So then they can do their PR piece if they want to. But that one page is really your story. It's everything you want to do, everything you want to them to know about you has to be included in that one page abstract. From there is really the key piece that I see in starting an application is to put a budget together. What it is you're going to need in money. The budget narrative talks about how it's broken down. The second handout I've given you is 2 pages, and it's entitled Grant Budget Planning Sheet. This is a simplified version of it. It's a worksheet. It's a sheet that you start out with that it either goes to a community organization or a community group or to a department, and that department looks at where their needs are. And I find most often that people are apprehensive about filling it out. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to ask for too much. I tell folks, ask for whatever you think your need is. You're never going to get everything that's your need, but you can certainly strike it out, because when you get past the budget narrative, you're getting into the narrative of the grant. And that narrative is where you really are talking about where the need is pervasive in your community, where your needs assessments have illustrated and highlighted how those needs could be addressed, and you move forward from there. When you get near the end of the grant application, it's going to ask you for additional documents. On the first handout I mentioned that says outline template, you'll go to what is at the bottom, the attachments. These are pretty much standard attachments for any state or federal grant. It's also pretty much so for any foundation grants. And you'll have to have an organizational chart. You'll have to have a staffing plan, the list of staff, their resumes, their qualifications to perform the duties in the request, and also a progress report template for whatever it is you're going to be reporting on a regular basis for the funding. Grants often will start out with what's known as a planning grant. That's where you can submit for whatever area you're wanting to have funded, a grant that they may allow you to submit for just planning purposes to give you 6 months or a year to plan for what you want to do before you actually implement it. if it's an area that you're really not that involved with right now, I would strongly suggest a planning grant. I have actually, for a hospital system in Charleston, submitted a planning grant and a service grant at the same time. And they called me from Washington with Health and Human Services and said, which one do you want? I mean, you applied for both of them. I said, I've already waiting for you guys to decide. I've already done the planning piece. I need money for services. And so they said, okay, you're getting the service grant. That grant had a bottom threshold of $350,000. That's a good start in money if you're looking for grant monies. Most grant cycles will run probably 3 years to start out with, where each year you give a progress report and you reapply, so to speak. It's pretty much, if you're doing a good job, it's pretty much done that you're going to continue that funding. At the end of the 3-year cycle or a 5-year cycle, you have an opportunity to compete for that money again quite often. The nice thing about grants that people sometimes don't realize that if there's funding at the end of a federal year that has not been put into and assigned by a grant to their budget, and they've not spent it, they sometimes can carry it over into the next year. When it's carried over into the next year, say if you have a $300,000 grant and you have $25,000 left and you carry it over, that $25,000 becomes your base for your next year. So you're going into a funding cycle the next year of $325,000. I'm talking in smaller terms now. I'm usually dealing with much larger grants than $325,000. But for Spring Lake, a $325,000, $300,000 grant in a certain area might be exceptionally good to get a program underway or to support an existing program activity. Often grants will ask for a match. Often they won't ask for a match. A match can be in-kind services. It can be an existing piece of services that are provided by a municipality. And that means that you wouldn't have to actually have to come up with new hard cash to match the funding request. It depends on the type of funding. Sometimes it's dollar for dollar. Sometimes it's $1 for every $4 or something like that. Or sometimes it's nothing at all. So I've given you these handouts for your review and to think through what it is that you might see as a need in Spring Lake. I'm offering up that if you want to conduct some strategic planning sessions, I'll give my time to you to do that. Ms. Cooper kind of bent and twisted my arm pretty much to say, what can you do to help us? And, you know, we need a lot in Spring Lake. And I said, I understand. So I'll be glad to see what I can do to help you. And she's like, when can you do it? But this is an opportunity sometimes for you to begin to look at what it is you have needs for and where you can find funds to support your community. We all realize a lot of dollars go out of our communities, but the old revenue sharing concept of the late 60s doesn't always happen in this day and time. We don't get those dollars back. So quite often grants is a way that we can get some of those funds back into our community to support some of the things that we need. I recognize with the issue regarding a swimming pool for adults that, you know, Cumberland County had bond issues not long ago for recreation. And in a particular area of the county where I call my home turf, they've been waiting for however many years now for a rec center. So I don't know when that rec center will come, but anyway, those are the kinds of things that we look at. Again, it comes from that strategic planning process. That's so important. And that's, as I like to say, we get all the cats in the bag together and everybody kind of figures it out. And then we go from there to look at where we can meet the needs. I'll conclude with that, and certainly any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Alderman Christian.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there particular websites where you can find these grants? Is them
if it's a federal grant, you can go to grants.gov. You can sign up to be on their email list. You'll get a monthly update from grants.gov on any federal funding by the department. You're going to have to kind of search a little bit because it's not as user friendly. If you're looking at foundation grants, you can go to grantmaking.com or you can go to Philanthropy Journal. There's a membership to it, and it will keep you updated. I get Philanthropy Journal updates like every day of major foundations across the country that are funding. For cities and municipalities, the Golden Leaf Foundation in North Carolina that was founded as a result of the tobacco settlement monies, it has intervened a lot to help out, especially small municipalities.
What about state level?
State level, a lot of what you're looking at will come through the Department of Commerce. There will be some monies through transportation. Those monies can get a little bit annoying because of the fact that they don't like to spend any money unless it's absolutely in the appropriation. They will not move and shift monies as much. And right now, you know, with the state budget still kind of up in a little bit of upheaval, state government funding and grants right now, I would say, you know, it's a hit and miss on what you're going to be able to get and processing of that. In other words, I've seen timelines for those grants move back as proposed. I've seen timelines at the federal level right now, because you know we're under a federal continuing resolution until I think it's December the 12th. So some federal grants that would come into being in the new federal fiscal year have been marked proposed, and they're right now not in the hamper for being able to go out and apply for them.
All right, well, thank you, that's very informative. Something we should all be educated on. And I appreciate you coming here tonight.
Certainly. Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Great presentation, thank you. Mr. Hankins.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, and Ms. Sutherland, who asked the question. I have been talking with the town's building inspector, Mr. Hall, about some issues he raised with me. Ms. Sutherland, I don't know what you might have had in mind in particular. You know, some changes happened. Our code enforcement officer is temporarily unavailable to us. So Mr. Hall has assumed responsibility for code enforcement. Think about the several structures that you all have considered and in some cases have adopted ordinances in the past several months, finding that the structures were unsafe and needed to be either repaired or demolished. I have been reviewing some of those files with Mr. Hall and with the interim town manager to make sure that we have done several things that we're required to do before any of those structures are demolished. Number one, obviously, we have to make sure that, in several of these cases go back 2 or 3 years, we have to make sure that the proper procedures were followed in compliance with the statutes. We certainly have to make sure that the property owner's constitutional rights, and particularly their due process rights, were respected. In other words, that the town provided notice and an opportunity to be heard in a hearing before the code enforcement officer then proceeded to make findings and then present an ordinance to the board. There are also some legal problems that have developed in a few cases, some bankruptcy proceedings that tend to complicate matters. So the short version is that we have been reviewing those files to make sure that we're on sound ground legally before any of those structures are demolished, or in some cases whether we might eventually need to come back to you, maybe even start over, but at least recommend some corrective steps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Enforcing the ordinance for the nuisance of the grass as well as vehicles, whatever it consists of, a nuisance in Spring Lake. So Mr. Hall will be the individual that's gonna go around and enforce it, and if we have any situations. So I think my question is enforcing the ordinance to make sure that our town continues to look as well as it can look that it has not been in the past. That's what my question as well.
Mr. Hall has not come to me about those matters. Probably that requires a conversation between the interim town manager and Mr. Hall.
Since he's taken over that position, will he be the one to enforce the ordinance?
I think if you recall, we just brought on our new employee that is gonna be responsible, enforcing, because I'm not sure what day he started, or.
Starts Wednesday.
Starts Wednesday.
Okay. I know the board was interested in making sure that the community, and the ordinance be enforced. So since we've hired an individual to start Wednesday, then our community can continue to prosper and look well. Thank you.
No other questions? Chief Williams.
Good evening, board and Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
I just want to come up and thank you guys again for coming out today and celebrating a big day for Spring Lake to be able to get that second station, get ready to go, to be built. It really shows, it should show the citizens that we are moving forward. We're not sitting on our hands. Sometimes it looks that way, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that the normal people can't see. So again, and I said it out there before, it was, you know, everything's got to run through you guys, and you guys have really been behind us, and I do appreciate it again. For anybody who's not be able to see anything today, what happened, we did break ground for the second station out there on Wellington Highway. We will be opening up the bid process hopefully this week. Maybe wait about it a little bit. It's going to run, probably run about 3 weeks, and then we'll open it up. It'll be a sealed bid. We'll open it up and find out who gets the bid to do it, and then we'll start building on it. So it's great news for us and for the town and for Manchester area.
Go Engine 11.
Yeah, it'll be Engine 11. And like I said out there, one of the fire station, one of the fire engines that you actually got us to purchase will be stationed out there, and it will be Engine 11 along with Station 11.
That's great news.
Thank you all again.
Alderman Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Williams, I just wanted to thank you as well as your department, and it shows the process of Spring Lake growing and the growth, and that you want to be and you're concerned about the public safety for you to continue to go forward with this. We've been looking for this for a while. What I really like is the networking with the county, and to see the county come out and the commissioners as well, so we can continue to prosper as well here in Spring Lake. Networking is very important, and if we continue to collaborate with the county, there's so much out there for the town of Spring Lake to do. Sometimes we just got to get out of our own way. So again, thank you.
And also, thank you for your display of technology, which will at some point in time be put on social media. That's the drone.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if everybody saw it, but we will see the evidence of the technology involved in first responders, fire, police officers, catching criminals.
It's made a good deal of help for us.
Yes, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Watson.
Good evening, Mayor. I have on the agenda tonight a project ordinance to approve for the item that was approved last board meeting for the Hollins Construction Company for the Fanto grant. And the amount of the grant will be $223,000, $223,578.76 is total construction cost. A FAMPO grant will pay for 80% of that, $178,863.01. The town is responsible for 20% of that, which is $44,715.75. In addition, the town is responsible for paying the engineering costs and also build in a small contingency, so the total amount of the project budget ordinance is $259,920.24. So we have to recognize the revenues that are coming in for the FAMPO grant, as well as the expenditures that go out to pay for the professional services and the capital outlay, which goes to Holland's construction, and if we need the contingency, we will use. If not, it would not be used.
Alderman Cooper.
You just need a motion for it.
Yes, provided there are no other questions, yes. But yes, the motion is in order.
I make a motion that we approve budget ordinance 2019-9 for the 3rd Street sidewalk project.
Alderman Cooper.
Second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded, we approve the budget ordinance 20.9, 3rd Street sidewalk. You've heard the motion, is ready for the question.
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the sign of nay. The ayes have it. And ladies and gentlemen, we're down to we're down to item number 10. Is there a motion to expedite number 10? Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I second that
It
motion.
has been moved and seconded, we adjourn. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the sign of nay. The ayes have it, so ordered.